Hello, you delicious people, and welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations with I don't know what we're going to call you, not my former self to my present self, but this delicious goddess wants to be me when she grows up, which is pretty much the most flattering thing I think anyone's ever said to me ever. So Kelsey Aida, and that's also the name of her website, Kelsey, and then AIDA.com. It's all going to be in the show notes. She's a self-empowerment author. She is an advocate. She's a coach. She really helps people own their power and win at life. And she is the author of, get this, hashtag, actually, I can. And she has affirmations for happiness. We could all use a little more of that. And letters to the universe, and my pocket guide to manifestation. Want to talk more about that. And she also hosts international self-love retreats for women and the popular personal development podcast, High Vibin' It. And we're going to talk about, I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we're going to have way too much fun today. Yes. She's very good at helping us practice, obviously, the self-love with the self-love retreats, which I think is important that we all make time for. And also manifesting your dream partner, which even though she wants to be me when she grows up, I want to be her when I grow down, up, whatever, inward, because she's super duper. Show them the ring. Yes, she has done it. Manifested her dream partner. So we're going to learn more about that. And maybe even how to troubleshoot and release resistance. We'll see where we get to today. But first, I think we should just hug because you're just so delicious.
Hug, Zoom hug.
Yeah. I was on her podcast with Lindsay, and it was just like fast friends, yes. Long lost soul sisters. So first and foremost, how are you?
I am really excited to be here talking to you.
Well, thank you.
Having a good day. It's Monday. I usually get pretty pumped on Mondays. I do all the laundry. I do all the podcast stuff. I get some sunshine. You know, it's just like a good, fun, fast start to the week every week. Really so I'm just in my Monday jams, you know.
Oh, this is good. I've done the laundry too. And
nice.
I should probably not say this, but I always say everything. So I'll just say it. So I have like this, I've had this guest on my podcast before. They were a swingers couple. And they taught me all these things that I had no idea about swinging. I had a lot of misconceptions or preconceptions, but they also have these sex blankets. That's part of their like shop, waterproof and stuff.
Nice.
And so I just had to wash my sex blanket, and it's out there on the front porch, just drying. So it's a little too much.
Just out in the open, drying for all the neighbors to see.
I need to get some more blankets so I don't have to keep doing so much laundry. But high level problems, right?
I'm dead. I am dead from happiness about knowing this about your life right now.
So I'm just going to start right off and be brave. So
yes.
No one's really ever said that to me, that they wanted to be me when they grew up. What is it about me that inspires you? I'm so touched.
Yeah, I feel like you are a future version of me because you're very energetic, and I can tell that all the love that you have for people and the way that you want to help is very genuine. Mm-hmm. And when you speak and when you teach, it just hits the right notes. Mm. And it really has an energetic blueprint of like total alignment. But also you're just like fun, and you got the curls, and you know, you're just like a spicy margarita, and I like it.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna like cut. So my editor pal, cut that and put it on loop so I can listen to it with my
add it to the bio, spicy margarita.
That's so great because I'm such a Canadian.
Well, I'm Latin, so that's where it comes from. Maybe I don't even really like margaritas because I don't love tequila, but everyone else loves margaritas. So
I used to take a shot of tequila every Friday night when I lived in Tokyo because I would dance in a show 6 nights a week with the French girls, 4 shows a night. But then on Friday nights, we would go dance at a club from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. for another like $250, which 20 years ago was that was a lot of money. So, but we were like, oh, that's a long week. And now we've got to go dance. And we would dance in like a cage. It was so fun.
That's amazing.
Like, tequila is the answer. So we'd have like a shot of tequila, and then off we'd go, and we'd dance till 4 a.m. And then you go out in the morning and the sun was coming up and the little guys that had the fish soup carts would be there waiting for us outside the warehouse club. We'd have our fish soup, and then the first subway of the morning would start and we'd go home. So there's another little insight into my
tequila, booty shaking, fish soup. What's not to love?
Right? Tell us how you became you, Ms. Latin Lovely Woman. Give us your story of how you became this incredible empowerment coach and the incredible podcast you're doing. What's the journey to get there?
Well, it all started from a deep place of lack of empowerment for me personally, which, the contrast leads to the expansion. So in my late teens, I was suffering from depression, like really hardcore. I was still like functioning, but I was contemplating suicide and just kind of like hating everything about my life and not knowing how to process my emotions and really just really going through it. And long story short, I was able to heal, to climb out of that, to start feeling better and to feel even better than I had before I was sick with depression. So then I was like, whoa, this is a whole new paradigm of like life expansion that I couldn't even touch before. I didn't even know was available to me. And in that phase of my life, I just really was learning a lot of personal development tools and therapeutic modalities and perspectives that were super beneficial. And in my mind, I was just like, everybody needs to have these tools. If everyone was this resourced and could access these perspectives and could help themselves in these ways, like the world would be such a better place. And to me, it's just all about quality of life. Like anyone who's been suicidal can tell you that the most important thing is not surviving. It is about having a life that is worth living. And if you feel that's not worth living and you're willing to take that away from yourself, then that says a lot, right? Yeah. So if it's all about quality of life, how can I live my best life of the highest quality and help everyone else to do it too? Because I feel that everyone is an extension of me. Like, sure, if I'm happy and living my best life, that's great. But what about Johnny, who's also an extension of me? What about Katie, who's also an extension of me? What about them? What about them? What about them? So then I just decided I'm going to be the next Deepak Chopra, and I'm going to write all these personal development books, and I'm going to help people via the modality of books, because with a book, you can reach a lot of people. So that was my thinking. And then I had to start a blog because I was like, I'm not going to sell the books to anyone who doesn't know who I am. So let's build a following. Yeah. And it kind of just evolved from there into everything that it is now, which is coaching and the podcast and the retreats and more books and online courses. And really, I just can't find enough ways to express myself and or help people.
You're freaking adorable. I love this. And you're also wise. You get that I am you, you are me. Get that.
People tell me that a lot. And I have a lot of gray hair just to prove my wisdom, even though I'm only a ripe 28. People always be like, wow, you got a lot of grays, girl. I'm like, it's just the wisdom. I don't know. I'm only 28 in my body, but like, this is probably my 12 millionth lifetime. Like, I feel like I've been up in here a couple times.
I'm thinking we've done this before. Absolutely. And yet, I mean, yes, you've probably learned science, but you feel like in your bones that if you rise, but someone else doesn't, that means you haven't either, that's an outpicturing of an aspect of yourself. Yeah. Like I remember just a few weeks ago with another shooting in Texas, it's so easy to blame, cast blame. And what my coaching group, we all contemplated, where are we that angry? Right. And maybe we didn't choose to do that, but the anger is the same. And he's an outpicturing of our internal unprocessed anger. And how can we on an energetic level contribute? Right. Mm-hmm. And so not to go dark, but let's just go there because the dark and the light, it's all the same spectrum, right? The same world. Depression. I have only ever had one moment where I really tasted, there is no reason to go on. The last boyfriend I had, gun in his mouth several times, faced suicide many, many times. His father succeeded, killed himself. Mother killed the stepfather and then herself, like a pattern. And I am not a clinical doctor. my experience is that depression is unprocessed, uncommunicated anger turned inward, because we're not taught how to feel our feelings or to even understand that anger can be transmuted with an open heart. So closed heart, okay, anger, depression, got it. But with an open heart, anger can be transmuted into fierce love. I choose, I deserve, this is out of integrity with my values. I choose to create, make an impact. Like it's fierce and intense, but it can move in that direction. But I will be honest that I've only ever really tasted it once. So to the degree that you are comfortable sharing, what was it that caused that depression? Was it very just physical, like brain? Was it emotional? And how did you actually begin to rise?
Yeah. So it was the perfect storm. Let me paint you a picture. My whole life, I was dreaming of and training to be a professional ballerina. That was my life path. Yeah. So I was training. I was, going to regular school, but after school, doing hours and hours of dance, eating, sleeping, repeat. Like that was my life.
Yeah.
And when I was towards my later years in high school, I already had a lot of injury because I'm hypermobile and my body just didn't know its limits. And from, doing too much over rotating, too much bending backwards, I was having all these hip problems, all these back problems. And my body was just like, no. And my doctors were like, no, you should, quote unquote, pick another sport. You should stop dancing. You should do the thing that you live for. Like you should stop doing the thing that you breathe for. Yeah. And that was the catalyst, one of them. But also at the same time, I was wanting to become sexually active with my partner at the time. So I was like, okay, smart thing to do, get on birth control. Like that's the responsible thing that I'm going to do. And that neurologically effed me up big time. Wow. So there was the hormonal issues. There was the hopelessness of not being able to do what I loved most. Yeah. And on top of all that, there was just a general lack of intimacy in my life. And I was allergic to feeling, which is important to note because I believe wholeheartedly now, knowing what I know and having worked with a lot of people and having healed myself to various degrees, if I had known how to process how I was feeling, I don't think I would have been stuck in depression for 3 years.
Thank you. Yeah.
But because I was resisting the sadness and I wasn't curious about it and I wanted nothing to do with it, I was just really stuck for a long time.
Yeah.
So getting out of it really started with, okay, universe, I need to figure out how to feel good, or I don't even want to fucking be here. I just don't feel that I was put here to be miserable. This isn't making sense. And also I used to be happy. There was a day I remember distinctly where I was like, I didn't know it used to be like this. I used to have friends. I used to like doing things. I used to have a zest for life. I used to be bubbly. I used to be fun. I used to socialize. I just realized that I was so different and I had fallen so deep into this hole.
Yeah.
And so I let the universe know. I was like, yo, I need some help up in here. I am over this. I'm done with being sick and tired all the time. Help me, a prayer / ultimatum. Yeah. And as soon as I made that declaration, the right resources started coming in, right? So the right therapist came to my aid. The right shaman was, introduced into my life. The right books, the right perspectives, the right podcasts, the right courses. And in that, I was able to slowly climb out. And I was adamant that I was not going to use medicine to get me out, only because I was already villainizing birth control for getting me into the problem. So I was no medicine. I don't want to take any medicine to get better. I need to figure this shit out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another interesting part of the story, my therapist had sent me to this chiropractor who was a natural medicine doctor, because I told her no medicine, but she said, well, what about something plant-based or something without side effects? And I was like, well, if you think so, I'll trust you. And maybe I'll be open to that. So she sends me to this guy and he's talking to me and I'm talking to him. And he said something very important that changed the trajectory of my healing. And I think he was really just put on my path just to tell me this one sentence. And it was literally just, not to invalidate your pain or what you're going through, but you seem like you're already getting over the depression. You seem like a strong lady to me. And I actually don't think you need any medicine. And for him to just know me for that short amount of time, just to hear what I was saying, to give me this energetic assessment of like, you have what it takes to feel better already and you're almost there. That was what I needed to hear, to be like, okay. Maybe he's right. Maybe I am almost out of the hole. Maybe I can do this by myself. And then that was the first book, was #actually I can, the art of affirming yourself to greatness, using affirmations in an authentic way to, you know, climb to where you want to go. But really, long story short, it was giving an ultimatum to the universe, using the resources that were presented to me. And then I just became really passionate about all the tools and perspective shifts and ways that one could heal.
I freaking love this. I love it. The declaration is a big deal. Like choice beyond all. Like, I hope, I wish, I want, I need, wouldn't it be nice? Like, it doesn't do any good until you're like, I'm having this. This is how it's going down. The bridge is burned. We're not turning back. This is where we're going. Don't know how, but this is what's happening. Right. Yeah. So humble declaration.
Mm-hmm. I think in that moment, I really committed to life. I was like, okay, I'm committed to figuring this life shit out. And I'm committed to figuring out how to feel good, because at this point, there's no other way that I'm willing to tolerate living.
Thank you. Thank you. Ooh. Take us along as the different modalities, et cetera, in terms of feeling, because I've been doing this for 20 years now, but even I was doing my homework with one of my coaches. He's like, I want you to look at all the benefits of all the challenges you're going through right now. I want you to get to appreciation of all and I cognitively analyzed physical, mental, spiritual, vocational, financial, social, parental, romantic, sexual. Could find all the benefits, growth opportunities, lessons, resilience, evolution, all the rest of it for all of these areas of my life, for these challenges. But I didn't let myself feel the appreciation. I stayed stuck here. There was still a little bit of I'm not going to actually let myself actually surrender and be grateful. I'm still going to, I don't know, be a little bit pissed, or a little bit scared, or a little bit, I'll be happy when, I don't know. I just wasn't willing to just let myself surrender and feel. And I'm really good at feeling and taking my clients through feeling, but I wasn't willing to feel this next level of appreciation in the midst of things. And I don't like how they look, the feeling thing. So how did you learn to not, because you can say affirmations and feel nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Totally.
So talk to us about what it really means to feel. And just out of the corner of my eye, I got to tell you, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 horses and these little bunny rabbits. There's 2 bunny rabbits. They've been chasing each other all morning long. It's hysterical. They just have so much fun out there. Their little bums are like little white bums. So that's
amazing. Yeah, and horses are my spirit animal. So thank you for saying that right now.
Kelsey's here.
Times 8 or however many horses there are.
Yeah. One of them is doing this right now going, nay, seriously. They're like, yo, Kelsey. Serious.
Oh man, that is perfect in every way. But yeah, emotions used to be, they still are sometimes hard for me. So I got a lot of Cancer in my chart, a lot of Cancerian energy, a lot of water, moodiness, sensitivity. So I'm definitely someone who can be on any side of the spectrum of feeling. So I say from experience that it's understandable for us to not want to feel bad. Who wants to feel bad? Nobody. It's horrible. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. It can cause suffering. Like, we don't like this. And that's okay. You don't have to like feeling bad. But there comes a point where you realize that the only way out is through.
Yes.
And the only way truly out of those horrible feelings that you don't want to hang out in is to go through them with bravery and unconditional love for self.
Yes.
And when I learned how to do this, it changed my whole life, because I was able to release a lot of resistance just in general to how I was feeling, whatever was going on. And I was able to just keep coming back to a place of wellness via processing being unwell. Yeah. So it was like every time I felt unwell, it was an emotion. It was an opportunity to be with that sensation in my body to breathe through it, to let it pass without judgment, maybe get curious about it, maybe extract some helpful, beneficial information from it. And then on the other side of that, I would always come back to relief, to wellness, to a steady, stable, maybe even happy or excited. And that type of work really, really frees you, creates resilience within you, and helps you to like do anything you want, because you don't have to live your life operating subconsciously on the narrative of like, well, I shouldn't do that because that could lead to disappointment. Right. Or, you know, I shouldn't whatever pursue this thing because what if I feel this way? Right. But when you're not afraid to feel anything, if you can embrace all feelings, you are like completely unstoppable.
Yeah. Bring it, universe. What you got?
Yes. Yes. And then you can, you know, just live your life with some more confidence and some more ease, and knowing that like you've got yourself no matter what, and you can process anything and you can be with anything. You don't have to like it all. Trust me. I don't like feeling bad still, just because I'm better at it. It doesn't mean I like it. But I think that's all the more reason to be open to your feelings, because they can pass more quickly, especially the uncomfortable, painful, heavy, sticky ones. And now that I've realized the value of this and I've began to master it, it's something that I can extend to my clients and at my retreats, like teach people how to do, which is like, can you feel your feelings without making it mean anything bad about your life, about yourself? Can you feel your feelings in a way where you're almost like meditating as you watch them pass through the body? Can you feel your feelings knowing that it's okay to have an experience, because that's what it is to be human?
Yes. Yes.
That's what it is. It's not wrong. It's natural.
Totally. Totally. God, we're so on the same page. You're so right. Self-love retreats, to me, the core of the core of the core, when I haven't integrated something, it's because I'm still holding myself in judgment and unwilling to forgive myself that I did my best. Yeah. Somehow that I've still been judging. That's not good enough. Mm-hmm. That's where it stays stuck. But that next level of ugly cry, the next level is really me going to like the little you, a little Alana, and letting this aspect of me feel fully, while sort of simultaneously acknowledging with compassion and no judgment. Like, look, you have every right to feel this. This is what it is to be human. When I fully, it's almost like two parts of me are feeling at the same time. Yeah. And there's just this homecoming, this yin yang that happens on the inside. And then it's quite quiet and peaceful. And the sense of confidence is inside out, not circumstantially outside in. Although I have wisdom about what's happened, and maybe even we could say embodied capacity, wisdom from it. But the actual moment of true forgiveness is, to me, the most beautiful, hardest, but most beautiful piece that we could ever have, is to look in our own eyes, that part that's so ashamed and been so judged maybe by another part of us, and come home. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tell us about these retreats and the path to self-love feeling, and tell us about your point of view on forgiveness.
Yeah. And I'm glad you also brought up the parts. So in all of my self-love work, so I have an online course that the retreats were inspired by, and it's called Radical Self-Love. And some of the main pillars of my teachings of radical self-love are, can you love all the parts of you? Okay, not just the likable parts. I'm going to teach you how to love it all, even your inner critic, even your bratty inner child, even your persistent anxiety. Like, if you can understand it, why it's there, how it's trying to help you, you can love it, even if you don't like it. Okay, so that's a distinction, right? So that's one of the pillars. And then also, feeling is healing is like a big modality of mine. Like, let's process these feelings with grace. Let's let energy move. Like, your emotional body knows how to heal itself. You just have to let yourself go there. You have to hold the space for that. Yes. And then, like you said, self-forgiveness is a huge piece. And that comes, I think, from, well, this is like a universal process that I apply to a lot of my self-love teachings, but it's like, okay, can we get curious as to why you are maybe punishing yourself or why you are withholding forgiveness? From there, maybe we understand that you believe secretly that if I forgive myself, I could probably make the same mistake again. I don't want to make the same mistake again. So I'm going to withhold my own forgiveness in hopes that that will help me to learn the lesson better. Right. Yeah. So even your unwillingness to forgive yourself is coming from a place that loves you and is trying to protect you.
Yes.
When you can grasp that, you're like, oh my God, I love myself so much that I'm withholding my own forgiveness. This is crazy, right? You see the craziness of it all.
Yeah.
And then you go to the thing that you're unwilling to forgive yourself about. And you can say, is there a way that I can forgive myself and still keep the lesson? Like, just because I forgive doesn't mean I have to forget. Right? Like, let's forgive ourselves for choosing that toxic partner that we were with. Right. But it doesn't mean you still have to choose a toxic partner just because you forgave yourself for choosing the last toxic partner. You lived, you learned, and you can forgive yourself for that past experience and still have the knowledge and the wisdom to not make the same mistake again.
Totally.
Right. So that's another important distinction, because I think when we don't forgive ourselves, it's because we have resistance to forgiving ourselves, because we think if I forgive myself, I'm actually going to be more vulnerable. I'm going to be worse off somehow, or I'm going to let myself off the hook, or something X, Y, and Z bad thing will happen if I forgive myself.
Yeah.
So if you just get curious, like, okay, why could I be withholding forgiveness for myself? And maybe we don't need to do that anymore. Because on the other side of the forgiveness is, self-compassion, inner peace, acceptance of what was, lessons learned from a positive perspective. It's just, I think we withhold for many different reasons. Everyone has their reason, but if you can use curiosity to open the door and then understand that you were doing the best that you could at that time, given your resources, given what you knew, given what you were trying to achieve, you can't ask anything more. And also, like, I think that this is my personal spiritual belief, that there's no such thing as, from a higher perspective, there's no such thing as sin. So if there's no such thing as sin, then we don't even need forgiveness, because you can't have fucked up in the first place.
Correct. You're just here to grow and evolve and experience.
Yeah. So when you don't need to forgive because you didn't do anything wrong in the first place, then that's done. It's done.
Right. Tie in your point of view of perfectionism on all this. Because I think if we have this point of view that our fuck up was wrong and I am wrong, and that's very, low vibrational shame, because there's a belief going on in there somewhere that I need to be perfect. And if I'm not perfect, I won't be safe. If I'm not perfect, I won't be loved. If I'm not perfect, I won't, like, it's really quite thick in there. How have you helped people unravel the whole perfectionism thing, which to me allows for forgiveness? And then when you get there, you're like, I didn't even need to forgive myself because I'm just here to experience. And then all the little parts come home and it's one big hoedown party inside the heart. So
one big hoedown party with all the parts loving each other. Oh man, this is such a juicy question. So perfectionism is something that I've been relating to for my whole life. And I'm naturally, on the perfectionist spectrum, high strung, high achieving, little room for quote unquote error.
Yeah.
But I guess from my personal experience, what has helped me the most to navigate the perfectionist tendencies without so much shame and guilt and demand, because I think when you're a perfectionist, you demand that you do the best all the time.
Yeah.
Is like, I don't even know how to word it. It's like, first of all, what is perfect? Like, what is perfect? There's no thing that is like, nothing is, it's all subject to what you think. I could think that this glass that is hand blown in Mexico, even though it's asymmetrical because it's handmade, I could think this is perfect. Someone else could say, oh, that shape is not good. It's not perfect. It wasn't machine made, right? So it's all in the eye of the beholder. And I think to just kind of get rid of the whole idea of perfection even being possible is the more self-compassionate way. Because when you demand that you're quote unquote perfect, and that's not realistic, that's not achievable for anyone, you're just setting yourself up for failure anyway. And perfectionists don't like to fail. So when you can kind of use that reverse psychology of like, when you're going for perfection, you're actually going to fail, you can rewrite the narrative of, okay, let's pretend like perfection isn't even a thing, because it's not. It all is in the eye of the beholder. It depends. So if it wasn't perfection that I was going for, what would I want to go for? Doing my best, creating beauty in the world, feeling better more than I feel bad.
Yeah.
It's about changing the goal. I think for me, changing the goal from being perfect to feeling good was a worthwhile one.
From success to fulfillment.
Yes.
From perfectionism to joy, beauty, feeling better.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Or even just relief.
Yeah.
You don't even have to shoot all the way for joy. If you're not close to joy, you can just go for relief.
Yeah. True. Very true. When I love that perspective. I'll also add, as I like look outside, because there's so much nature around me right now. Nothing in nature is perfect.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And it's all different. Like, what is perfect? What is the standard? There is no standard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I find, as an art history major, the most imperfect works of art are my favorite. How they would, have a bowl way back in Japan where I used to live, and they would break it and put it back together with gold filaments. And that was more beautiful than the quote unquote perfect bowl as a representation of our expansion. I look at a tree, like a just straight trunk, straight branches is quite boring, but like the winding and the growing here and the growing around this. And that to me literally, I feel inspired in my body when I see how nature truly is. So I love this. I love this.
Yeah. And we're all extensions of nature, which is important to remind yourself. Like, I am a part of nature. I'm going to have seasons. I'm going to have moments of death and rebirth. I'm going to have contrast and expansion. I'm going to grow slowly or grow quickly, depending on the moment, depending on the nourishment, depending on what I'm surrounded by. And yeah, there's no such thing as perfect unless you think there is.
Yeah, I love this. I love this. I remember back when COVID first hit a couple of years ago, I had like the best year of my career. Like I doubled. And I started my partnering app and it was huge. And last year was pretty good too. But this year is like such a year to scale. I'm like, let's just keep going at this pace. Like, no, you have to slow down, go back into all the different systems and structures and all the rest of it. And it feels so uncomfortable. And even though I say I define my worth from the inside out, I was really seeing how much I was still attached to all of this outside stuff to feel good enough, to feel safe, to feel worthy, to feel like I wasn't wrong or bad. And that whole forgiveness, a whole another wave of it came through. So thank you for the reminder that, like nature, we have seasons.
Yeah, it's nice to give yourself that permission to just be what you are, which is a creature of nature. Because when you're trying to live a different way than you were designed to live, it's very hard and frustrating.
Yes, it sure is. It sure is. And then, so how do you be this Cancer recovering perfectionism woman who allows herself her seasons in a relationship?
Ooh.
Yeah.
This is so good. Okay, so this all goes back to my self-love journey, not to take away any credit from Jeffrey, my partner. He's amazing, but I do take all the credit that the only reason I was a match to said wonderful man is because I had to transform my relationship with myself.
Okay.
And in my self-love journey, I really learned to love all of me and to hold space for me, no matter how ugly or horrible or sad I was feeling. So in my old partnerships, they were just as intolerant of me feeling bad as I was feeling bad, right? That's a mirror. In my new partnership, Jeff is okay no matter how I feel, and he loves me no matter how I feel because he can just hold space for that, as I had been doing for myself before I met him.
Yes.
Okay, so I truly believe that there are many powerful mirror aspects, especially in romantic partnership, to your relationship to yourself.
Yes.
So doing that hard work of loving myself, of crying on the floor and making it okay to feel lonely and making it okay to be a hot mess and just making it okay to not feel good all the time, I think that really opened up the space for me to experience that in the 3D of a man who loves me no matter how I'm feeling, no matter what I'm going through, and is always encouraging me and always lifting me up. And we have our moments of butting heads, like all people who are different do, who are in different bodies do. But I'd say 95% of the time, our relationship feels very nice and very lovely. And I credit that to myself for all my self-love work that I did before I met him.
No, I mean, this is the entire concept of my partnering app. Become the one, define the one.
Yes.
Which one?
You become the one, and the one is just shows up. And
Yes.
it's not even that you have to do that first, but that is just like a natural flow that can easily happen, where when you do that, the partner comes.
Yes. You can do it in a relationship as well.
Yeah.
You know, within that structure.
Totally.
And if
we don't want to limit anyone and be like, oh, you have to love yourself until you can be in a relationship. I hate when people say that. We are not saying that. We are saying that self-love is helpful regardless of your relationship status. It will improve your outer relationships as much as you're improving your inner one.
Yep. If feeling the feels, feel it to heal it, and allow yourself to be with all of yourself allows energetically that alignment with the other. Did words actually come out of your mouth when you started dating Jeffrey? Like, I'm just going to go be a hot mess right now. Your job is to just fix, not to fix me. Or did he just naturally do it?
Sometimes I have to remind him. I think all men have a tendency to want to fix. So if I come to him with a problem or, you know, with like a tear in my eye, he'll be like, well, you know, we could do this. Don't worry, because this, and he'll go into like strategizing. I'm like, really? Can I just have a hug? I'm like, yeah, of course. And then we just hug, you know, we just hug it out. So yeah, sometimes I still have to verbally, explicitly ask for what I need or what I want in that moment, for sure. But I think the difference is, like, with all my old partners, they weren't even capable of giving that to me the same way I wasn't capable of giving it to myself.
Totally. Yeah. It's, I think it's very empowering, so long as we don't have the judgment piece in it. To take full ownership of everything going on out there is still a mirror for what there is to do the work inside of me. And not to judge yourself for that, but to, as you said, be curious, kind, dive in, be brave, feel the feels, all of it.
And when you're in partnership, I think it is helpful to express what you notice that you're going through to the other person, so they don't take it personally. And so they know what you need and they know how to navigate it. So, like, for example, if I'm having a moment and it's not about him, but I'm taking it out on him, I might be like, hey, I'm sorry if it seems like I'm taking this out on you. I'm not. I'm just feeling this, this, and this because of this, and this. And I need to go watch my show, or whatever it is, you know? Right. I think it's helpful when you're on the consciousness journey, like, share that with your partner of what you're experiencing, so they can have understanding and compassion and give you what you need.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're just sitting there not knowing what to do. Take it personally.
They're not mind readers.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't know.
Yeah. And again, if we don't do the work with ourselves, we don't even know what we need.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know what I need, but it's not you. It's not like, yeah, no, help them. This is really good. And I don't know about you with your emotions, water. I'm like an earth sign, Capricorn.
I love that. For you. Happy for you.
But still super, super sensitive. And it's one of my superpowers as a coach, but also the other half of that superpower is, like, just a glance can make me go, oh, you know, like, ow, I felt that. So I'm super, super sensitive. And I like to tell the people I'm dating, it's like I'm the weather. So you don't know what the weather, and it's different weather and it changes. And so what worked yesterday probably won't work today. And just to be curious about that. And you were down to, like, orgasms, like, of what would create that, all the way to what would soothe me. Sometimes I just want a nice slap on the ass. Let's go for a beer. Other times I need to sob in your arms. Other time, go away. It changes. So it's my job to communicate what I need, set them up to win. And they're just like, gee, that's weather. You are weather. And now I come to Wyoming, which has weather. So I feel like I'm home with my elements here.
Love that. Good analogy for being a woman. We are the weather, you know?
What would you say, or one or two, I don't know how many agreements you make, but what are some of the most potent agreements you've made with Jeffrey as you're moving into marriage? Around money, sex, communication, spirituality, I don't know what dimension, but what's been really powerful?
Yeah. This is a great question. I've been reflecting on this a little bit, because I'm like, okay, we're going to get married. Like, what am I going to say in my vows? Like, I want them to be good, you know? Yeah. And I think we haven't said this necessarily verbally, like, here's our agreements, but I think the unsaid is that we both agree to honor each other's expansion, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And we both agree to be committed to our own personal development, no matter what, which ultimately helps the relationship. Like, we're willing to face ourselves over and over and over again.
Yes.
And I think because we naturally just have so much love for each other and we just naturally want the best for each other, we have agreed to, fulfill each other's needs in the way that's in alignment for us. So like, for example, I'm physically affectionate with him, and he loves when I like scratch his head. Like if his head is anywhere near me, he's like, please scratch my hair, pull my hair, just like scratch my ears, like all around the head. He'll fall right asleep in like 2 seconds. He's literally a puppy, like literally a puppy. And he'd be like, please, like the head scratches. And I'm like, yes, because it feels good to me to give in that way. And it feels good for him to receive in that way. So I think we are lucky that we have a lot of natural compatibility and harmony.
Yeah.
That's just one small example of it. But really, we have agreed to fulfill each other's needs to the best of our ability. And something that makes this relationship the most successful one that I've had ever is the true compatibility that is naturally there. Because in all my past relationships, I would try and force compatibility where there wasn't.
Yeah.
And, I was being a square peg around a hole, or vice versa, trying to mold that person into someone who would be compatible with me. But people are who they are. And yes, there's room for change and expansion, but like fundamentally, if you have too much incompatibility, no amount of love can keep two people together in a healthy relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was an agreement that I made with myself before I met him, was no more incompatible people, no matter how much I love them, because I can love anybody.
True. Yeah.
Anybody. So I need to pick someone out of those anybody's who I can actually have a functioning, healthy relationship with.
I love that we're so separate. I can love anybody too, but is there the compatibility? As you
love is not enough. That was a lesson I had to learn so hard from so many heartbreaks. Like, you want to believe that love can like conquer all, and that can keep you together under any circumstances, but it really just can't.
No, I'm in agreement with you there 100%. So the capacity factors there that each of you are going to grow and be your best self no matter what. The compatibility is there. So there's a natural flow to it. I just got an email from somebody that used to help me, coach me when I was a mom. My son was like turning into a teenager and I needed help. And he called it the container. And I also just interviewed Jason Gaddis and his wife as well, Ellen, and they talked about it being like the us. Like there's, I'm gonna stand for me, I'm gonna stand for you, and I'm gonna stand for us. And the way they said it was, and I might butcher it, but I believe it was like, if it's not good for you, it's not good for me. Vice versa. And I think if you're not first a stand for yourself, ownership, like the capacity piece, right? And then a stand for us or stand for the other person, like I'm gonna stand for your growth as well. I feel like the us could get codependent, but if the whole and whole come together, 1 and 1 doesn't equal 2, 1 and 1 equals like infinity, like the container is bigger than both of you because each of you are whole in it. So can you explain your point of view? Like if it's not good for you, it's not good for him. And if it's not good for him, it's not good for you, and how you to navigate that.
Yeah, I think a really important key aspect of relationships, any relationship, romantic or not, is taking positive ownership of yourself and of that person. And a lot of people don't like the word ownership when it comes to people. Okay, that sounds wrong according to like the narrative of society. But to take ownership of something means that you're going to care for it. You're taking it in as a part of yourself. Like if I own my car and take ownership of it, I'm going to wash it. I'm going to put the good gas in it. I'm going to drive it safely. Same thing with your partner. If you're taking ownership of them, that means how they feel is important to you. What they need is important to you. They are an extension of you. And when you treat them as such, naturally, you're going to go for their best interests. And when you take positive ownership of yourself, same thing. So when you're taking positive ownership of yourself, I believe that looks like, figuring out what you need and want and going for those things in healthy and direct ways. And same thing for your partner. You take positive ownership of them, figure out what they need and want, and how can you help them do that? And then the beautiful dance is like, how can we fuse this together so it's working for both of us at the same time?
Yes, yes, yes. I love it.
Which is not always easy, but conceptually, yes.
is why I'm asking.
In practice, not always.
Well, because in the interview, the other interview I did, he said they were each working part-time, sort of taking care of the kids half and half. And he's like, no, I want to go full-time. And she was like, oh, hell no, that's not for us, because I really like this dance we're doing. But she was also a stand for him to be his best self, but she's also a stand for her not to go batshit crazy and to have to like, so they wobbled, they shared on the, it was beautiful. They wobbled for quite some time until they found a way to still be a stand for self, other, and us, and worked it out. But it wasn't pretty or easy, but they found their way. Those were the frameworks that were building the relationship.
Yeah, you have to find the third option, which sometimes isn't always the most obvious in the beginning. Like, you have to find something that works for both people. Otherwise, you're going to go into the space of compromise, which ultimately leads to resentment, which ultimately leads to more problems. And I don't believe in compromise. And this is a very unpopular opinion of mine, but I don't like it. I believe that compromise is, I'll take some of the pain and you take some of the pain, and then we'll just both be in a little bit of pain. And that's how we're going to operate the relationship. So for me, I'm always trying to think of creative ways to avoid compromise. I'm like, how can we both get what we need? How can we both get what we want? What are the options that we haven't explored yet? Because I don't want us to just share the pain. Let's share the joy. Let's make it work instead of not working.
This is really fascinating. I really like this, Kelsey, because if we go back to the beginning of the interview, when we're talking about feeling, I think what comes up when there's a moment of, oh, fine, let's just compromise, right? Is there was I believe anyways, there was a feeling that wasn't willing to be felt all the way through, or a belief, well, then this is going to happen, that brought up a feeling that you need to integrate. And when you get all integrated, and that comes back to capacity versus compatibility, capacity. Okay, now I'm back in center. Now I'm actually thinking straight. Now I've integrated my feelings. Now I can really be here, sit in the fire, and really get curious. And if the partner does the same thing, whatever it's bringing up for both people, each of you process that, own it, then come together with, okay, what is it that, how is it that both of us can have our needs met here? It's another interview I'm remembering of Carol Allen. She's a Vedic astrologer, dear friend. And she likes to be the last one at the party. And he likes to leave after about an hour. And so they take two cars, and it's totally fine.
There you go. It's a win-win.
Yeah, they've done that for 15 years, and they're delicious. Yeah.
That's a beautiful example of not compromising when it's not needed. And for me, like, there are little things I'll compromise on that aren't going to cause me like long-term pain. That's fine. I can move on from that. But like the big things. Oh yeah.
Okay. No. Three. There's 3 bunnies. Sorry.
They're multiplying.
I gotta, oh, they're too adorable. Okay. Sorry.
I love it.
Oh, so good. I'm so glad you have continued to do the deep work. Been such a humongous gift to this planet. You're walking the talk with your relationship. I love all the nuances. I just want to talk to you for like 10 days. Where do you live again? And where you move? No, Lindsay's moving. You're staying put. Where are you again in the world?
Yeah, I am right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, in a sleeper city, basically right underneath, called Rock Hill, which is technically in South Carolina. So I live in the Carolinas, I say, because I'm in both states a lot. But yeah, just living my best life in the South. California girl, gone east.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. I've gone Wyoming. When is the next self-love retreat? What are you excited about?
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited about it. So October 12th to 17th is the next retreat. And we're going to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, which is where I have been taking women. And I keep going there because there's a magical thing about this place. Besides the food and besides the views, it just has an energy that just like holds you while you can process the stuff and heal things and up level. And so it's a really, really expansive, up-leveling, healing container within like 6 days of luxury and fun girl stuff. So it's women only because we share rooms and stuff in this giant villa. And it just has a vibe of, it's different from other retreats. I think a lot of other retreats are more structured and strict, and like you're only eating leaves and you can't talk and you can only meditate. And in my retreat, like, you know, you can come have a margarita if that's what's self-loving for you in that moment. Like, eat some tacos. Like, we're going to go to the beach. We're going to ride some ATVs. We're going to love our inner child. We're going to do some yoga on the rooftop overlooking the ocean. We're going to talk about our vulnerabilities. We're going to give each other compliments. It's really just a beautiful space of sisterhood and women coming together for the purpose of deepening their self-love practice and like learning tools like how to feel your feelings in a healthy way, how to love your inner child, how to forgive yourself, all these things that we've been talking about today. And then some, just learning those in paradise, because why wouldn't you want to learn them in paradise and then bring them home and use them for the rest of your life? So that is very exciting. And also I'm working on a book right now called Why the Law of Attraction Works for Some People, But Not You, which is a sassy manifestation troubleshooting guide. Basically a book on all the ways that resistance can express itself and also how you can untangle it for yourself. So I'm also excited about that. And yeah, in my personal life, I'm excited to get married in Mexico, where I host the retreats. Love this town. And just see how much I can lean into my purpose, because I'm making a shift in my life and in my career from being very multi-passionate and multifaceted and kind of scattered energy to honing it in and like going all in and betting on myself. So we'll see how that unfolds too.
Oh, I can already feel it's going to be phenomenal. What do you mean by all focusing it in? So you said like the podcast and the books and the retreats, is that?
Well, so here's how my life is right now, and here's how it's going to be different. So now, well, I went to school to be a cosmetologist. So when I couldn't be a dancer, I was always good at hair and makeup and girly stuff and creative things and artistry. And my parents advocated for me to try beauty school because I was already doing a side hustle of like all my friends' hair and makeup for prom, homecoming. I was charging people. I already had a business, like being a cosmetologist without the license practically. And so I went to cosmetology school. I was like a hair prodigy, and I've been doing hair ever since. So in this whole time of also writing books and hosting retreats and being a coach, I've also been a hairstylist. But now I'm feeling the call to drop the hair and focus all my energy in the pursuits of the healing work and the expansion work and the consciousness work and the writing books. So I'll still be multifaceted, but more focused in the one direction, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. It totally does. I love that. You can still rub your hubby's hair.
Oh, trust me, he will ask every single day, and I'll still probably have to cut his hair for the rest of my life.
Hey, that's okay. I saw a little Instagram reel once of this woman said, my mom still puts hair product in my dad's hair every day. I'm in the bathroom and she's like doing the thing. And I thought, oh, that's just so lovely.
It works out too, because he has great hair, and I'm talking perfect. Like, when you see those movies in the 90s where these guys have like this luscious, like light brown hair, and then it like has that one piece that comes down in the front that's like very Elvis-like. His hair just does that naturally. And every time he comes to the salon, the other girls are like, dude, his hair is so good. I'm like, I know. And then he always tells me like, oh, it's just faded in the stars that a hairstylist would end up with someone who has such a great head of hair like me. I'm like, yeah, can't wait to cut it forever. Kind of wish you were bald. I think every hairstylist secretly wants their love to be bald so they don't have to cut their hair all the time.
Adorable. Yes, but no compromise. Okay. Do it the way you love it. So Kelsey, Aida, AIDA.com. It'll be in the show notes. Head down to Puerto Vallarta in October for the incredible self-love retreat. And so from your beautiful heart, we just got to keep doing this. I don't know, like once a quarter or something.
Yes, let's do it.
You're amazing. You're amazing. From your heart to the viewers and the listeners, how would you like to complete this delicious conversation?
I would just like to say that everyone out there listening, you are worth your own love. And the love that you so freely give to everyone and everything around you, you are also worthy and invited to receive it yourself, from yourself. So yeah, go in the direction of self-love. Do what feels self-loving for you on the macro and the micro. And that would be my message for the day.
I really love that. Yeah. And for me, it's easy to love the quote unquote pretty parts. And can
Of
we love
course.
the wobbly parts as much as the pretty parts? Just to me, that's why I love heart so much. Like it's like
Yes.
the path of wobbly or the path of easy or magnificent.
And you don't have to like it to love it. I want to really hone in on this. Like, I don't love that I have an anxious tendency. I don't like that I tend to be an anxious person, but I love the part of me that worries.
Yeah.
You feel the difference? You don't have to like it to love it. Loving is extending compassion and understanding and including it as a part of yourself.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you have to be like about it.
Right. No. That's so good. Like unconditional love without condition means if you're a hot mess, I love you, even though I might not prefer
Yes,
it.
you
Or
might
like,
not prefer it, and that's okay, but you can still love it. And it's especially easier to love these parts when you understand them fully, which is a lot of what we'll do at the retreats. If you're like, oh, this sounds juicy, this sounds expansive, I need to learn how to do that, then join us in Mexico.
Absolutely. And then how can you give it to your partner if you can't give that to yourself? So,
yeah, it's very hard, nearly impossible, I would say.
Yeah. All right. So viewers and listeners, there were nuggets after nuggets after nuggets in this conversation. I'd like you to take just 2 or 3 minutes when you're done, go for a walk, put your hand on your heart, get your journal out, something that really spoke to you, and commit to taking an action, because these are meant to be inspiring, but life can just be one big experience. But until you reflect on it and take an action, things actually don't change. So please be willing to take one new action, because one new action a day, your life is there's more buddies. Every time I look up, there's buddies.
They won't stop. They won't stop.
They won't. Your life will take on a different trajectory. So we love you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for being with us on Intimate Conversations.